News every 15 minutes, weather every 10, and sports twice an hour.
Newstalk, KGVO, AM 1290 and now 101.5 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
Opening statements from the Marcus Karma murder trial. Good morning, everyone. It's Montana Morning. Congratulations, you made it. It's Friday, December the 5th, 2014. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Our newscast is sponsored by Temp-Rite Service for all of your plumbing and heating needs. The number to call for Team Blue is 728-1111. By the way, today is also the Christmas for Kids a live auction over on our sister station, 94.9 KISS FM with Billy and Shireen. Alan Kay is going to be there as well, so lots of fun over there as well. Right now we have 28 degrees under a cloudy sky, and Missoula roads are very slick in some areas, so please use caution. There's a winter weather advisory until 9 o'clock this morning. Today's top story, the Marcus Karma murder trial got underway yesterday with opening statements by the prosecution and the defense. Deputy Missoula County Attorney Jennifer Clark walked through the timeline of events that led to the shooting on April 27th, which Karma's attorneys claim was self-defense. Clark counters that assertion.
In order to use deadly force, you have to reasonably believe that there's an imminent danger of death or serious bodily injury. You can also use deadly force in the protection of an occupied structure. It's necessary to prevent the assault on a person then in the occupied structure or to prevent a forcible felony.
Clark asked the jury to hold Karma responsible for Darren Day-Day's death.
At the end of this trial, we're going to ask that you show the defendant that this system does work and that it does hold people's unlawful actions, holds those people responsible and accountable. And we'll be back before you to ask that you hold this man, the defendant, responsible for deliberately and intentionally taking the life of Darren.
Karma's lead attorney, Paul Ryan, described how his client stood in front of a pitch-black garage, not knowing what was inside, and reacted when he sensed a threat.
He couldn't see anything, and he yelled, "Hey!" He racked the gun, hoping whoever was his would give up. What happened is he heard fast movement, and then he heard a metal-on-metal sound. And in his mind, he's going to get attacked. He turns his head away, and he's looking down actually at the side of the gun, not aiming. It's on his hip. He fires, pumps it, fires.
Ryan said Karma felt his life was being threatened, and he acted in self-defense.
It was a man who was fearful, and he had to take a step that no one wants to take. And because he felt his life was threatened by the movement specifically of Mr. Day-Day, who made the decision to go in this family's garage and house, and he had to take the steps, unfortunately, to take his life. Testimony will continue this morning in Missoula District Court. Of course, we'll be following the trial on Twitter, Facebook, and on our website at newstalkkgvo.com. A Lake County man has pleaded not guilty to charges that he shot and killed his wife and then tried to cover up the crime by saying she had committed suicide. An attorney for 32-year-old Adrian McKeldry entered the not guilty plea in State District Court in Polson yesterday. He's charged with deliberate homicide in the November 18th death of 29-year-old Raylyn Charlo. A federal judge has issued a civil fraud judgment against a former chairman of Montana's Blackfeet Indian tribe, who authorities said lied to claim money in a discrimination settlement. U.S. District Judge Brian Morris said yesterday 56-year-old Patrick Charles Thomas falsely complained that he was discriminated against in a U.S. Department of Agriculture loan program. The U.S. Attorney's Office is seeking more than $944,000 in losses and damages. Missoula County authorities are searching for a Lolo man by the name of Joe Allen Hansen, who was wanted for violating his parole. County Sheriff's Office Public Information Director Paige Pavolone has more.
He resides in Lolo. The last known residence that we have listed for him was 1408 Lakeside Drive. He was given several opportunities to turn himself in, but he actually has a probation violation, a felony probation violation for absconding his probation. The reason he's on felony probation is because he got a felony DUI, which means that he had 3 or subsequent DUIs in his driver's history.
Pavolone says Hansen's list of past crimes includes more than just DUI. A judge has recommended bond for $50,000, which is unusually high.
He's being actively sought, so if anybody has information about his whereabouts or sees him, contact 911, submit a call into the Missoula County Sheriff's Office, or submit an anonymous tip to Crime Stoppers if it's not time sensitive. The individual stands about 6'1", 235 pounds, and he is about 59 years old.
Calls to Crime Stoppers are anonymous. The number is 721-4444. A lawsuit filed by Missoulians that live on South Avenue may be coming to an end soon. The case has been around for about 10 years. After winning at district court and on appeal several times to the Supreme Court, plaintiff's attorney Tom Orr says the city of Missoula's bill has more than doubled.
The total bill to the city, if it had been settled early on, would have been maybe a little bit more than $100,000. The total bill to the city now is approximately $350,000.
Plaintiff Glenn Wall said what the city of Missoula did to his property was unconstitutional.
City officials made a claim that South Avenue had a variable road right-of-way, and they took people's personal properties, lawns, fences, landscaping. In my case, they literally ripped a porch off one of my houses. We had no alternative but to file a lawsuit to protect our constitutional rights.
Orr and his clients won the main case at both district court and Supreme Court levels. The most recent legal battle was over the facts that the city didn't want to pay the plaintiff's attorney's fees. Yesterday, Montana Governor Steve Bullock signed an executive order. Governor's office spokesman Dave Parker explains.
He signed an executive order which is aimed at improving and streamlining Montana's efforts to tackle the threat of invasive species in the state. What the executive order does is it establishes Montana Invasive Species Council, which will serve as an overarching council to combat invasive species in the states, both aquatic and terrestrial.
Parker said the way that invasive species were handled before this executive order was simply too compartmentalized.
Local folks were working on one part and state and federal, so what we're trying to do is bring everybody together so we're not duplicating efforts. We all have a common understanding of what needs to be done, and we can work together. Nobody wants another spotted knapweed in Montana, so we're trying to everybody work together to make sure that doesn't happen.
The board will have 21 members. A 26-year-old Billings man has made an initial court appearance on charges that he raped a 23-month-old girl, causing life-threatening injuries. Police say the girl was brought to the hospital emergency room November 30th with substantial bleeding. She was eventually flown to a Denver hospital for treatment. Defendant Daniel Joseph Daigle faces 2 felony charges of sexual intercourse without consent. He's being held on $250,000 bond. And a 45-year-old Billings man has been sentenced to 30 years in prison for sexually abusing a 6-year-old girl and possessing hundreds of images of child pornography. District Judge Michael Moses sentenced James Hubert Hopkins Tuesday to 50 years in prison. Our Newstalk time now is 6:10.
Newstalk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
A few lingering snow showers this morning. Otherwise, slick roads and cloudy skies today. High temperatures will top out in the mid-30s. Mostly cloudy tonight with our lows in the upper 20s. A chance of rain on Saturday. I'm meteorologist Brooke Foster for KECI 13.